When people talk about distance, they usually think about miles, borders, long roads, and empty spaces between two hearts. But love, real love, has never been afraid of distance. Tonight, I want to talk about something deeper, something quiet but powerful, the courage to end the distance for love. Because sometimes the hardest journey in life is not crossing oceans or mountains, it's taking one honest step toward the person your heart refuses to forget. There are moments in life when you realize that distance is not just physical, it can be silence, pride, fear, or the words we never said. And yet, love keeps whispering to us, telling us that some people are worth the miles, the waiting, and the effort. This speech is about that whisper, about choosing connection over loneliness, courage over hesitation, and love over the distance that tries to keep two souls apart. When people speak about distance, they often measure it with numbers. They talk about kilometers, cities, borders, oceans, and long roads that stretch across the world. But the distance that truly matters in life is rarely measured by maps. It is measured by silence, by time, by the quiet space that grows between two hearts when words remain unspoken and steps remain untaken. Love does not disappear because of distance, but distance has a strange way of testing love. It asks questions that only the brave can answer. It asks whether you are willing to walk farther than you ever imagined, whether you are willing to walk farther than you ever imagined, whether you are willing to stay patient when the nights feel longer, and whether you are willing to trust something invisible but deeply real. Music. There is something powerful about the moment when you realize that someone far away still feels close to your heart. It is a strange kind of closeness, the kind that does not depend on touch or presence. You wake up, and the first thought that crosses your mind belongs to them. You walk through your day, and small things remind you of them. A song, a quiet street, the way the evening light falls across the sky. Distance cannot stop memories from traveling, it cannot stop feelings from crossing the miles, and sometimes love becomes even stronger in that quiet space because it grows in patience and in longing. But longing is not always easy. There are nights when distance feels heavy, when silence becomes louder than words, when the absence of someone feels like a quiet echo in your chest. You sit there wondering whether love is meant to survive this kind of space. You ask yourself whether the distance will slowly change things, whether time will create a new version of life, where the two of you slowly drift apart. And in those moments, love asks for courage, not the loud kind of courage that people celebrate in stories, but the quiet kind that lives inside a determined heart. The courage to believe that love is worth the effort. The courage to send a message even when you are unsure of the reply. The courage to wait when the world tells you that waiting is foolish. The courage to close the distance not only with your steps, but with your honesty, your patience, and your willingness to stay connected. Because ending the distance for love is not only about traveling from one place to another, music. Sometimes it is about crossing the distance inside yourself. Pride can create distance, fear can create distance, the fear of being vulnerable, the fear of being rejected, the fear of discovering that someone may not feel the same way. These invisible distances are often greater than the miles between cities. They keep people silent when they should speak. They keep hearts guarded when they should speak. They keep hearts guarded when they should open. Love begins to change things the moment someone chooses courage instead of fear. The moment someone says the words they were afraid to say. The moment someone says the words they were afraid to say. The moment someone decides that the connection they feel is more important than the comfort of staying silent. That is the first step toward ending the distance. There is something beautiful about that step. It is simple yet powerful. A phone call, a message, a journey, a decision, one small action that says, "You matter enough for me to move closer." And when love is real, that action carries a kind of warmth that travels across the miles. Sometimes people believe that distance weakens love, but the truth is more complicated. Distance reveals the truth about love. It shows whether the connection is deep enough to survive time and space. It reveals whether two people are willing to keep choosing each other, even when the path between them is not easy. There are couples who talk every night despite living in different time zones. There are people who count the days until the next meeting. There are hearts that remain loyal across years of separation because the connection between them feels rare and irreplaceable. These stories are not built on convenience, they are built on devotion. Devotion is a quiet strength. It does not always look dramatic from the outside. Sometimes it looks like patience, sometimes it looks like patience, sometimes it looks like late night conversations that stretch until morning, or sometimes it looks like the willingness to plan a future that still feels far away. But devotion has a steady rhythm. It keeps moving forward even when the distance tries to slow it down. And one day something changes. The moment arrives when the distance begins to shrink. A ticket is booked, a plan becomes real, a door opens, and suddenly the miles that once felt endless start to feel smaller with every step taken toward each other. There is a kind of magic in that journey. The moment when two people who have lived through distance finally move closer together. The world looks a little different in that moment. The air feels lighter. The heart beats with a quiet excitement that cannot easily be explained. Music, because ending the distance is not only about arriving somewhere, it is about honoring the love that survived the journey. Every step taken toward love carries meaning. Every mile traveled carries a story. Every moment of patience, every night of longing. Every message sent across the distance becomes part of something larger. A story about two hearts that refuse to give up on each other. Love has always been about movement. It moves people beyond their comfort zones. It pushes them to take risks they once feared. It teaches them that life becomes more meaningful when it is shared with someone who truly understands them. And when someone decides to end the distance for love, they are not only moving across geography, they are moving toward connection, toward vulnerability, toward a deeper version of life. Because at the end of the day, distance is only powerful when we allow it to be permanent. The moment we decide to move closer, to speak, to travel, to reach out, the distance begins to lose its power. Love is not perfect. It faces obstacles, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt. But love that is nurtured with honesty and courage has a way of finding its path through the obstacles. Two hearts that truly value each other eventually begin to close the space between them, slowly, patiently, step by step. Not because it is easy, but because it matters. There are people who come into our lives and leave quietly, like passing seasons. But sometimes someone arrives who feels different, someone whose presence lingers even when they are far away. Someone whose voice feels familiar, whose laughter stays in your memory, whose absence makes the world feel a little less complete. Music. When you find that kind of connection, distance becomes a challenge rather than a barrier. It becomes something to overcome rather than something to accept. Because the truth about love is simple. When two people care deeply enough, the road between them eventually becomes a road they are willing to travel. And every step taken in the direction of love becomes a quiet declaration that some connections are worth every mile. There is something deeply human about the idea of love, something that quietly lives inside every heart, whether people admit it or not. Love is not simply a feeling that appears and disappears like the changing weather. Real love is something that slowly grows roots in a person's soul. It changes the way you see the world, the way you see yourself, and the way you understand another person's presence in your life. But the truth that many people learn, sometimes slowly and sometimes painfully, is that love alone is not always enough. Love asks for courage. Courage is not always loud. It does not always look like dramatic actions or heroic gestures that people celebrate in stories. Often courage is quiet. It lives in the small decisions people make when they choose love. Despite uncertainty, it lives in the moment someone decides to stay patient when time becomes difficult. It lives in the moment someone decides to move closer to another heart, even when fear tries to hold them back. True love demands that kind of courage, not once but again and again, because loving someone deeply means allowing another person to see the parts of you that the world rarely notices. It means allowing them to see your hopes, your fears, your past, and the quiet dreams that live inside you. Many people protect those parts of themselves because vulnerability can feel frightening. It can feel safer to keep emotions hidden behind walls built from pride or silence. But love slowly asks those walls to come down. It asks you to trust. Trust is not always easy. It means believing that another person will care for your heart with kindness and honesty. It means believing that the connection between two people is strong enough to grow, even when circumstances become difficult. And sometimes circumstances do become difficult. And sometimes circumstances do become difficult. Life has a way of testing every meaningful connection. There are moments when distance appears between two people who care deeply for each other. That distance might be physical, with cities and countries separating them. It might be emotional, with misunderstandings or unspoken feelings creating quiet space between their hearts. It might be time itself, pulling people in different directions as they chase responsibilities and dreams. In those moments, love asks for courage. The courage to move, physic. Moving towards someone you love is not always simple. It may require leaving behind familiar places, routines, or comforts. It may require stepping into the unknown with nothing but the belief that the person waiting on the other side matters enough to take that step. Many people hesitate at that moment. The unknown can feel intimidating. Questions appear in the mind. What if things change? What if the journey is not worth it? What if the connection that once felt so strong fades when life becomes real? But courage does not mean having no doubts. Courage means moving forward, even when doubts exist. The decision to move towards someone you love carries a quiet strength. It is a declaration that the connection between two hearts is more valuable than the comfort of staying still. Every mile traveled becomes part of that declaration. Every effort made becomes proof that love is not simply something people talk about, but something they are willing to act upon. But courage in love is not only about movement. Sometimes love requires the courage to wait. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. In a world that moves quickly, patience can feel almost impossible. People are taught to expect immediate results, immediate happiness. But love does not always follow that pace. Real connections sometimes unfold slowly. They grow through conversations, through shared moments, through understanding that deepens. With time, there are moments when waiting becomes necessary. Two people may care deeply for each other, but life may not yet allow them to be together in the way they wish. Responsibilities may stand in the way. Dreams may still be in progress. Circumstances may require time to change. Music. In those moments, waiting becomes an act of faith. Faith not in fantasy, but in the genuine connection that two people feel when they speak, when they share silence, when they understand each other in ways the world cannot easily explain. Music, waiting becomes a quiet promise that the connection matters enough to protect, even if the present moment does not yet offer everything the heart desires. Waiting is not always easy. There are nights when the distance feels heavier than expected. There are days when doubt whispers in the background, asking whether patience will truly lead somewhere meaningful. Asking whether patience will truly lead somewhere meaningful. But love that is built on sincerity finds strength in those moments. It learns that patience is not weakness, it is devotion expressed through time. And then there is another kind of courage that love demands, the courage to fight. Fighting for love does not mean constant conflict or struggle between two people. It means refusing to give up when challenges appear. Every meaningful relationship eventually encounters obstacles. Misunderstandings happen, words may be spoken in moments of frustration, life's pressures may create tension that neither person expected. The easy path in those moments is to walk away. Walking away requires little effort. It allows people to avoid difficult conversations and emotional vulnerability. But walking away also leaves behind something that may have been rare and beautiful. Fighting for love means choosing a different path. It means choosing communication instead of silence. It means choosing understanding instead of pride. It means recognizing that the person you care about is not your opponent, but your partner in building something meaningful together. Sometimes fighting for love simply means listening with patience when the other person is trying to explain their feelings. Sometimes it means apologizing when pride would prefer silence. Sometimes it means apologizing when pride would prefer silence. Sometimes it means staying present during difficult conversations rather than escaping from them. Every relationship that survives for a long time carries stories of these moments. Moments when two people could have turned away from each other, but instead chose to stay and work through the challenge together. Those moments become the foundation of deeper trust, because trust is not built only during the easy days. Trust is built when two people face difficulty and still choose each other. There is something deeply powerful about that choice. It creates a bond that goes beyond attraction or temporary emotion. It becomes a partnership rooted in respect, patience, and shared commitment. When love reaches that point, distance begins to lose its power. Distance may still exist physically. Music. Two people may still live in different places or follow different daily routines, but the emotional distance between them disappears because they continue choosing each other despite the circumstances. Messages become more meaningful. Conversations become more honest. Music. Small moments become reminders that the connection is alive and growing. Over time, courage begins to transform the relationship. The courage to move slowly brings two people closer together. The courage to wait protects the bond while life unfolds. The courage to fight ensures that the challenges do not destroy something valuable. And somewhere within that journey, love begins to feel like home. Home is not always a place defined by walls or geography. Sometimes home is the feeling of being understood. It is a sense of peace that appears when you speak music, and the noise turns into music. With someone who truly listens. It is the warmth that fills the heart when you realize that another person sees you clearly and still chooses to stay. When someone becomes that kind of presence in your life, distance becomes something temporary rather than permanent. The miles between you no longer define the connection. Instead, the connection begins to shape the way you see the distance. Every conversation becomes a bridge. Every shared memory becomes a thread tying two hearts together across space. And slowly, quietly, the future begins to take shape. Plans that once felt distant start to feel possible. Conversations about someday begin to transform into conversations about when. The courage that once felt difficult becomes natural because the connection between two people has proven its strength. People often speak about love as if it is something effortless, something that should always feel easy if it is real. But the truth is more complex. Love is beautiful precisely because it requires effort, patience, honesty, and courage. Without courage, love remains only a feeling. With courage, love becomes a journey where two people grow individually while also growing together, a journey where distance, time, and challenges become chapters in a shared story rather than barriers that end it. And when two people walk that journey with sincerity, the connection between them becomes stronger than any obstacle that once stood in their way, because true love has never been about convenience. It has always been about choice. The choice to move closer when fear suggests staying still. The choice to wait patiently when impatience demands immediate answers. The choice to fight for understanding when pride encourages silence. Those choices create a love that feels steady and real, a love that does not disappear when circumstances change, a love that continues grow, music, wing because two hearts refuse to stop choosing each other. There comes a moment in every meaningful connection when love stops being just a beautiful feeling and becomes a decision. In the beginning, love often feels effortless. It arrives like a warm sunrise in someone's life, filling ordinary moments with excitement and wonder. Conversations feel natural, laughter flows easily, and every message or call feels like a small spark of happiness. In those early moments, distance does not seem frightening, because hope is stronger than doubt. But as time moves forward, love slowly reveals its deeper truth. Feelings alone are not what keep two hearts connected. What truly sustains love is the choice that two people make again and again to stay present, to remain honest, and to keep moving toward each other even when life becomes complicated. Distance has a strange way of showing people the difference between temporary affection and genuine love. When two people are separated by space or circumstance, their connection can no longer rely only on physical presence. Instead, it begins to depend on communication, patience, and the quiet trust that grows between them. It is in these moments that love becomes something stronger. Every conversation becomes meaningful because it carries emotion across the miles. Every shared story becomes a thread that connects two lives that are unfolding in different places. Even silence can carry warmth because both hearts know that the connection still exists. Choosing each other every day may sound simple, but it carries great significance. It means waking up and remembering that someone else's happiness matters to you. It means taking the time to listen even when life feels busy or overwhelming. It means protecting the relationship with honesty and care, even when misunderstandings appear. Even when misunderstandings appear. No love story is free from them. The noise turns into music. Sometimes distance feels heavier than expected. Sometimes responsibilities pull people in different directions. Sometimes emotions become complicated and the path forward feels uncertain. A love that is built on daily choice learns how to survive these moments. Instead of allowing challenges to create separation, two people begin to treat those challenges as steps in their shared journey. When misunderstandings happen, they choose conversation instead of silence. When distance feels long, they choose patience instead of doubt. When life becomes difficult, they choose support instead of withdrawal. This daily choice slowly transforms the relationship. Over time, two people begin to understand each other more deeply. They learn each other's fears, dreams, and quiet